Nigerian Senate wants Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun, the Chief Executive of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, among others, threatening them with arrest warrants for repeatedly ignoring its invitations over audit queries. This has almost become a norm for some of them, especially for Mr. Zach Adedeji, the chairman of the committee in the Senate that has said they're going to get a police warrant to arrest them. Oh, okay, why are you going to get a police warrant to arrest the Inspector General of Police? And that's by the wayside. Okay, so now you have been invited for 8 or more than 8 times by the Senate to come give account, to come and give account on the way and manner your department is been running. I think it is a common knowledge and a basic knowledge in government that the Nigerian Senate or the Parliament, the House of Representatives, one of their responsibilities is to summon or to invite any of the ministers at the federal level to come give account about the way and manner they've been running their obligations and the duties and their responsibilities in government. Or if, and this is not far-fetched, this is from some of these queries are coming from some of the things that came to limelight when the Auditor General of the Federation actually audited some of these accounts, and it's calling them to come and give account, even if it didn't happen in their own administration when they started heading that office. But it requires that they present themselves. In the United Kingdom, we know that the Prime Minister and of course his cabinet make Parliament their home. Whenever they are summoned or whenever they are called or invited, they are there. And you could see the Prime Minister is not coming there to say, I am the Prime Minister. He came and he speaks with a sense of responsibility and some form of submission, or in the sense that I am standing before parliamentarians. Of course, he is the head. However, he cannot, try to bring in this bossy disposition. And I must say that most presidents in the past and even the current need to speak up and instruct their ministers that, look, if the National Assembly requests your presence and you refuse to go, you are tarnishing my image, and I am going to carry out whatever advice is being given to me by the National Assembly concerning your office, if it's to suspend you or replace you. I don't think you see that coming.
But I see there's a tone to it, and I don't think that this respected gentleman will deliberately want to ignore the Senate.
For 8 times?
Yeah, there are some things that one will need to know, and I think these are things where things start to be done very well. Take for example the chairman of the board of FIRS. Is just a chairman, and of course, like I said yesterday here, the audit that they are talking about is audit of 2020. 2020, because the 2021 is just been finished. The Senate or the PSA is yet to consider 2021 audit. So 2020 audit is what we're talking about. So when you look at 2020 audit, he wasn't there, and some of the people who were the principal actor in that era, maybe as DG, as directors, assistant director, a lot of them would have retired and they are no longer in service. So you have
a permanent secretary.
Of course, they go permanent secretary. The maximum you can stay there maybe 4 years or thereabout, if you are appointed early. But before you get to become a perm sec in an agency, you should have been getting close to your retirement. And these are the things that affect public service. But there's a tone, which is I want us to understand in some of all these things. I don't think that if the committees actually want to do their job very well, that they need Egbetokun or they need Adedeji to be able to give them the information that they need. Because each of these agencies of government, they have accounting units, they have auditing units, internal audit units, who can actually speak to these queries. But the unfortunate thing is what Professor Patu Tommy mentioned some years ago. I remember in 2019, we were having a conversation somewhere in Abuja, and he said that some companies were threatening leaving Nigeria because of the overbearing nature of some committee chairmen, and they don't want anybody to represent the board or the chair of the board, because they're actually the people who can sign the check. So we also have to look at that. Recently, we're hearing trending that some committees are demanding money from Vice Chancellor of University for their budget to be passed. So it's beyond people appearing to answer to queries.
But Doc, don't you think if they are to request some of those who are below the line of the PAMSEC or accounting units to appear, that means that the legislative arm would have jumped the head of the administrative political appointment, and also the administrative. But the head does not even want to appoint others to represent.
It's not. The letter is said, look, nobody can represent you. You have to appear yourself.
Yes.
And there's a reason why you have to appear yourself. See, this is the issue in terms of governance, that we also must get to that point that, because if things are clear enough, people won't really, because you need to also hear from the other side. I deal with a lot of public service from time to time, Director Generals. Sometimes even before these open things, there are threats that are coming from undercover that are flying. And this is a problem with our democracy today, really, that a lot of people are worried about the status of the legislature, whether they're actually there for the interest of the people or they are there for their own personal interest. These are challenges that we face as a people. So it's like what we see on the public. So we have invited this man, and the man refused to come. This is the 8th time that we have invited him to come, because they understand what these queries are all about, because it's something that is already in the public domain. And of course, you also understand that this person is an executive who is also working, and then of course you put conditions under which it should appear, and those conditions somehow may be suggestive. So
they have the right.
Okay, let me say this. Let me say
they
this.
They have the right to demand appearance.
Yes, they do have the right to demand appearance. They have the constitutional backing. It's part of their job. It's their role to have oversight functions over ministries, over agencies, over institutions. So where a flag has been raised, or where there are red flags, they should call to say, we want to see the heads of these institutions and ask questions, particularly when it concerns revenue. And it seemed like there was not, the remittance was not what it should be. However, you know what to say, that respect is not demanded, it is earned. And I also want to say, yes, respect is not demanded, it is earned. So if you want people to respect your office, you have to behave in a manner that they respect your person and they respect your office. Because when you occupy a certain office, your personality almost equals that respect. They must have respect for you who sits in that office and have respect for that office. If you don't have respect for you, if you don't have respect for that office, it's going to be difficult having people to go with what you're saying, even when you have the constitutional right to demand what you're asking for. I'll explain what I mean by that. You see, it's not only the NLC that has lost rating with Nigerians. The National Assembly also have lost rating. They've lost reputation by some of the things that happen behind, some of the things that we see them do. So how do you demand accountability when you have issues of accountability? You are not even very accountable. You've not shown responsibility as you should. You're demanding accountability. So there is that thing of the person who is asking for equity doesn't even have clean hands. So how do we submit ourselves? Even when the National Assembly has the constitutional right to demand that, how do we submit ourselves to people who would interrogate us, people who would investigate when they also need to be investigated, when there are some shady deals ongoing? So that's part of the issue. There is more that meets the eye when it comes to issues of you're summoning the Inspector General of Police and they're acting like they don't even know you're asking for them to come. You summon the governor of the central bank, you don't get a response. You summon the head of the FIRS and you don't get a response.
Agencies.
And other agencies, and this continues. It is not something that started with this particular assembly. We've had this as a recurring decimal. It's like that happens normally. Let's even look at how ministers are appointed. Look at them when they come to the National Assembly. There are some that are not much interrogated. They just say, okay, you see familiarity on display. Should we even have the familiarity? It doesn't matter if you've served in that capacity more than once. Let's say you've been a minister in Ministry of Education, and now you've been appointed or nominated to be appointed as minister in Ministry of Health. Even if you performed in Ministry of Education, it's a different ministry. So I expect that there should be some engagement. But you see familiarity on display. Whether that familiarity is based on trust or based on something that we're not seeing. Oh, they just say, oh, take a bow. And somebody else has come. You see the grilling. So you already see that there isn't actually fairness in the way and manner the National Assembly dispense the duty. Some of those things is what, some of those behaviors is what we are seeing reflect in this I would like to call it sea finish, disrespect, familiarity. What's going to happen? Like you asked. So where would they get the arrest warrant for the Inspector General of Police?
Okay, now
are they going to get that from the U.S. or from the police?
Let me come in.
That's why we see these things happen. So except that we're going to see a systemic change where no indiscipline is tolerated. So if you're going to deal with this current crop of heads of ministries and agencies, it should continue that way. And the National Assembly should also repair your reputation where you know that if you're someone, this is not a place you go to and you mess up.
Great. I like that. But let me just paint a little picture about this thing. Section 4, 5, and 6 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria established the executive, the legislature, and the judicial arms of government who have the responsibility of executing laws, executing laws enacted by the legislature, and the judiciary who adjudicates these laws or adjudicates if there is some form of controversy and misunderstanding between institutions and persons. The section that established the legislative arm of government when it was assigning the responsibility to the Nigerian Senate or the House of Representatives did not say Nigerians should obey them if they have shown themselves respectfully. They are an institution and there are responsibilities assigned to them, acts establishing them in the Constitution. So even if you talk about trust or public image, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive arm of government, they have a lot to do about their reputation and their trust to repair the damage that has been done over time with the Nigerian people. However, if they are demanding your appearance because of the critical role you play in the economy or in the administration of Nigeria, you need to appear. Whether the person requesting your appearance is your cousin or you used to meet in a bar to drink together, is not appearing is not demanding your appearance as your friend or the person who was laughing at you or jokingly in the National Assembly when you came for Senate screening or screening as the Inspector General of Police, laughing with you and say, oh, take a bow and leave. It is the Constitution and institutional authority that is speaking in this sense.
Haven't you saying in
you
the
have
same,
the right.
so
You
in the same constitutional authority where court orders are disregarded?
No. That is wrong.
I'm not saying it's right.
Chaotic. And so
it's
we must not
problem.
We must not speak to promote this disposition
We're
coming from the ministers. However, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, when he had gone through the stage and he was being sworn in or before he's swearing in, he said, now I feel like a tiger. I am so inspired and motivated to fight crime and criminal activities in the country. And that was nice, but a lot of things has happened in his administration. I cannot completely say he has failed Nigerians, but he needs to do better and he needs to do more. And one of the ways to repair that is to make sure he aligns himself with the laws of the land in appearing with members of parliament when they demand his appearance. For him not going, he's not bringing a good image to the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that needs to be addressed. And it's not the only one.
Two issues here. Nobody is saying that the institutions of government in Nigeria should not be respected. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying it's right for the people that are concerned shouldn't appear before those institutions. But you see, the point that is being made is just clear. There are a whole lot of things that are happening. We need some hygiene in our politics. And what that means is that we see these cases where somebody comes to arrest a criminal, and then of course they run and come to you, then this person pass money through here, this person pass money through here, then the accuser becomes the accused. Those things are the things that are defining our politics, and they are not good. Now, number two, most of the things that you are requesting, the person you are actually asking to come give account has not been directly involved. And there are people who were directly involved who could actually answer these questions. Because for me, if it is, yes, what do we want? Okay, certain budgets were made in 2019. And 200 billion was supposed to be used to build police academy. And we have not seen the academy built. There's somebody who is sitting in that agency who has information about how that money went, whether there was a due process of environment or that the money never came. The head of account of that particular agency can answer. The internal auditors in that agency can answer. The point I'm making is that if we're really needing information or clarification as to how certain money was spent or not spent, there are people within the agency who are also actors within that agency and senior member enough who could actually come to the committee.
Can I interject by saying, if the political head of that agency feels is not directly responsible to it because the tenure had passed like 2 tenures ago before he came on board, he can, by showing appearance and bringing that person, either it's the PAMSEC or the chief accounting officer of that ministry, to appear, who has that knowledge to actually give account to the Senate committee. Because if you do not appear and you do not tell your subordinate, okay, probably it's an administrative administrative staff, and you do not mandate his appearance or his appearance with you going to appear with the Senate, then you are not still appearing, and you could be using that as a tactical
but this is what I'm saying. The point I'm saying is simple. You know, you were not here 2 years ago, and somebody is asking Priye, come and tell us what happened in Joseph Harding.
Okay,
well, are you going to tell
to that?
You see,
I don't think
they are telling you, please, we don't want you to come with anybody. We want you to come alone.
Oh, the Senate won't say that.
Okay,
they won't say you come alone.
This is it.
You need to ask for the letter that invited the agency.
This is it.
So you have to appear in person. So this is the challenge, and you see, there are motives around all these things.
I will not
run away from those motives.
Yes.
And it is those motives that I'm saying that, look, we're talking about a great country, and we're talking about things done properly. You is trying to ensure, like some law enforcement agents do around us here. There's a road sign. Then they go and hide somewhere.
Do not pass.
And waiting for offender. So that if somebody here, they jump on the road. That's what we see in this environment. But whereas in other places, somebody is waiting to tell you that, look, this is a one way you can pass it. Somebody is waiting to tell you, you cannot cross road here. To ensure that people understand the real essence, that laws are not supposed to be punitive, they are supposed to be corrective.
Okay.
And when we do that as institutions of government, then of course we can easily mutually hold ourselves accountable. And I think that is the point I want to just make.
All right, what I would say to that, or my response rather, would be, yes, there are motives, and that's what Doc and I have been able to establish, that the reason you see this
Back and
attitude
forth.
is because there is more than meets the eye. However, now if you say that the reason they do not want to appear is because they do not have information that is being required of them, because perhaps they weren't the ones at the helm of affairs at a particular time. I do not agree with that, because government is supposed to be a continuum.
A continuum.
So nobody runs government in isolation. There are documents. There are people who together carry out processes. So for everything you're doing, even if you are the head of the agency, even if you are the minister, you work with people. There's a hierarchy, and so there's a downline as well. So you know when a paper leaves your table, even if it comes to your table last, there's a build-up. There's a place that document was generated, and there's a place it falls last. So there's somebody who assents to it. You cannot be assenting to something you're not aware of. There are files that bear documents for a particular project. So even if you were not there 10 years ago, for the fact that you had that ministry,
Dust it out.
you must have had one or be privy to information about it. Even if you were not privy at the time, because that was not, the issue didn't come up, the fact that they are asking would make you ask those who were around. That's why you have permanent secretaries. Permanent secretaries have been there in the ministry for a long time. So they have the experience, they have the information of what has happened over time, and there are documents to back it up. So if really you do not have that information, if you want to have it, you can have it. So I don't think that's an excuse. However, I think the reason why they are shunning the National Assembly or refusing to attend is just because of certain issues that may have been going on, and certain institutions acting like they're independent, being too strong. What can you do to me after all? You didn't appoint me, you only confirmed my appointment. So it's just like forcing the hand of the National Assembly. What can you do after all? Because there's been so much disrespect in the interaction and in the way things have been done. So unless that is corrected, and it's a systemic thing, it has to trickle down. Even for state assembly, you see commissioners, even because the reason why you don't even see much of that happening at the state level, because the state government can easily remove commissioners, but that doesn't really happen at the federal level. But some sanity needs to happen. It is easy for
you sit down on the comfort of this table and you can speculate.
It's not comfortable.
I'm not speculating. You have ComSec in everything. It's not speculation.
Just listen.
They have the information.
Just listen to me a little bit. You see, when I was speaking at the inauguration of PAC committee in March last year at Abuja, and I said to them, you see, it's not unfounded that agency heads are afraid to appear before you because of your disposition. And now, and I think after the death of that unfortunate incident of the custom officer that died while trying to respond to some question that I really did not understand, and the push. And of course, now is a standing order in the National Assembly now that before you appear, you have to submit your head status. Yeah, but even with the submission of the head status, people's heads are triggered. I deal with head of agencies, and I can tell you how palpable they are.
But that should not be an excuse.
Yeah, but it's not an excuse, but it is real.
Yes, it is.
It is real. The reason why it is real is that I'm not even talking about government, I'm even talking about private companies. What is done to them in the name of oversight by these committees. So it is the thing that we must, yes, is statutory for government to say we have a role to come and to oversee what is happening.
Yes.
And it is not to twist agency or corporations and frustrate operations, all in the name of oversight.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, and that is the appeal that I'm making, anybody coming to equity, his hands must be very clean. Let's be that all of us are acting for the interest of Nigeria, not because I need to do this because we must do this to get this XYZ done. Right. Because what you don't understand, and this is happening to agency, is to say, okay, what the so-called, the term that came out in the last regime, they call it budget padding. Their members are actually insinuating and saying, this is your budget. If I don't get this, yours is not passed. And if yours is not passed, then I'm looking for opportunity to hack you down or embarrass you in the face of the public. So these are the issues that are underlying resistance. So it's not that people just wake up and say they don't want to appear before agencies.
Right.
So there are undertones that are not known to me and you. These undertones are the current that is flowing between the agency and the set committees.
Thank you very much.
I think to make that easy, there should even be a way of improving the process. They do not necessarily have to appear, but they can respond to it. So if it means supplying them the information that they need, and if it means even having a virtual meeting where you're not in the same room with them and you don't feel that negative energy, and you're better able to manage whatever the situation is within the environment, then I think it should happen. By all means, what they need is information. So however the information is coming, if there's a better way to have that information, then it should happen.
Well, for me, I will demand physical appearance the way the Senate is doing it. This is government. You don't have thick skin. You cannot be there. Please don't be there. If you're being appointed and you think you can't stand the heat, step down.